Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. A man is kept chained to a leash like a dog by a criminal, and to win his freedom he will need to enter a bloodthirsty tournament and face several deadly fights. Today we will recap the story of the 2005 movie, Unleashed. Over 30 years ago, a street kid named Danny was rescued by Bart, a man who saw enough potential in the young man to help him build his crime empire. Bart is a man who lends money to others and charges very high interest in return, but since he is always dealing with dangerous people, he trains little Danny to become a martial arts master, but this is far from a good thing. In order to ensure that he will obey him, Bart has raised the boy as if he were a dog, always locked up in the basement of a shed on a leash and unable to act of his own free will. Now that Danny is grown up and fully trained, Bart uses his skills to defeat entire groups and thus ensure that he always gets his payment. After another successful collection, Bart distributes the jewelry he stole among his henchmen, while Danny is sent to the basement to eat an expired canned noodle and train. But while everyone is celebrating upstairs, Danny takes advantage of the time alone to learn to read with an old book that he keeps hidden away. Day after day they do the same thing over and over again, with Bart always vouching for Danny's skills to get the payments, but when they go to collect from a businessman who owns a large jewelry store in town, Bart and his goons are immobilized before they can even get Danny's collar off. It turns out that due to his desire to train him like a dog, Bart has taught Danny to only attack when his collar is removed and, knowing this, the businessman orders his men to eliminate Bart before he can release Danny. Since he has not been trained for situations like this, Danny just stands by while Bart begs for help. Realizing that Danny will do nothing while he is on a leash, the businessman begins to humiliate him for accepting being treated like a dog and tells his henchmen to eliminate them all, leaving the room shortly thereafter. Desperate, Bart manages to steal the truncheon of one of the security guards and uses the object to manage to incapacitate some of them until he reaches Danny and removes his collar. In the next room, the businessman is talking to a client until Danny disrupts the conversation by throwing one of the security guards through the wall. As soon as they realize what is happening, the entire security team goes on Danny to knock him out, but one by one they are all defeated, including the businessman himself. However, just as Danny is about to knock him out, Bart shows up and puts his collar back on, saying that enough was enough. At this moment, Bart realizes that the man with whom the manager is negotiating has stood still watching the whole scene and asks what he wants, but the strange fellow replies by saying that he is just enjoying the show. After all this mess, Bart gets extremely angry with Danny for not helping him from the beginning, and even though he is injured, he decides to go with his goons to charge the next target, who is an antique store owner. Once they arrive at the place, Bart says that he will try to resolve the situation peacefully this time and asks Danny to wait outside. Bart then hangs a device in the storage room and says that if things get out of hand he will activate it, turning on an emergency light that serves as a warning for Danny to enter the room to resolve the situation, but he can't pay attention to what the man says as he is enthralled with an old piano. For some reason, Danny has always loved the piano, and now seeing a real one for the first time in his life, he decides to try to learn to play the instrument, but as soon as he touches the first key, a strange man appears and Danny runs for fear of getting a scolding for messing where he shouldn't be. The man, who is actually blind, says his name is Sam and tells him that he was hired by the antique shop owner to tune the pianos, and while he is working, he notices that the man is feeling uncomfortable and decides to call him to sit next to him to help him. Together they spend a long time talking and tuning the piano, until suddenly Sam asks if he is also hearing a strange sound. Bart activated the emergency light, but since Danny was distracted, he didn't even notice. As soon as he sees the red light lit, Danny desperately runs to the room where his companions are, but by the time he arrives the fight is over and Bart is furious that he didn't help. At the hiding place, Bart argues with Danny for failing twice in the same day and leaves him stranded in the basement, until suddenly another henchman arrives saying that that man from the jewelry store has come to pay a visit. Thinking that the man was angry that he had disrupted his business at the jewelry store, Bart says that he was just doing his job, but the man says that it doesn't matter and that he is there to take care of another matter. The man then introduces himself as Wyeth and says that each month he hosts a members-only event where members can bring their fighters to face each other to the end, with the last one left eligible to receive up to $500,000 per fight, in addition to the betting money. Confident that Danny can win the tournament, Bart agrees to participate and goes along with Danny to the place where Wyeth shows the current champion, and despite the somewhat bizarre appearance, has been undefeated for 15 fights. But when it comes time to fight, Danny manages to defeat his opponent with a single punch to the neck, causing him to fall to the ground already destroyed. After this not at all challenging victory, Bart receives his payment from Wyeth and starts heading back to the base along with his men. Halfway through, he says he is feeling generous and offers Danny some rewards, but the young man rejects it all, saying that the only thing he wants is a piano. Believing it to be a waste of money, Bart rejects the request and begins to ridicule Danny, but just as he begins to do so, they are hit by a speeding truck that leaves the car all destroyed. Soon after that, 4 men in suits get out of a vehicle and start shooting in their direction. After the men leave, Danny comes out from behind Bart's body, and even though he is shot, he walks to the antique store where he waits for Sam to arrive to help him, but he doesn't even have time to explain what happened and faints as soon as the man notices his presence. Sometime later, Danny wakes up extremely scared and hides under the bed as he hears footsteps approaching from outside, until suddenly the sound stops and Sam opens the door bringing some food with him. Unaware that Danny is awake, Sam leaves the food on the table and touches the bed to see if he is okay, but when he realizes that the boy is no longer there, he immediately assumes that Danny is hiding and tells him that he has nothing to worry about, as well as saying that he will not ask any questions about what happened, but Danny ignores him and continues in his hiding place. When it gets dark, Danny decides to leave the room and stands there watching Sam play the piano until he suddenly hears someone opening the door. Not knowing who it could be, Danny tries to hide once again, but is easily discovered by Victoria, Sam's stepdaughter. Startled, Danny locks himself back in his room and runs under the bed, but knowing that Danny likes music, Victoria goes after him and hands him a keyboard to try to be friendly, but decides to leave him alone as soon as she realizes that he won't say anything. When she leaves, Danny leaves the room quite frightened until he finds Victoria and Sam calmly eating dinner. Determined to make him as comfortable as possible, they invite Danny to sit down and serve him a plate of food, but since he has never eaten at a table before, Danny devours everything like a wild animal while Victoria tries to slowly teach him and make him feel comfortable. As the days go by, Sam begins to feel as if Danny is part of the family. The young man learns how to pick ripe fruit, takes his ice cream for the first time, and even learns to read sheet music by spending evenings playing various songs with his friend. One morning, Sam and Danny go to that market once again, and while they are shopping, 2 strange guys arrive and start beating up another boy. Upon seeing this scene, everyone in the establishment is startled, except Danny, who continues to check the melon for ripeness as if nothing is happening, which leaves Sam puzzled by his calmness in the face of danger. The 3 of them spend several joyful moments and create stronger and stronger bonds until Danny finally takes courage and lets Victoria remove his collar, making it official that he is now a new man. At this point, Sam takes Danny to work with him on tuning the pianos, and while they are doing one more of these jobs, the man tells Danny that he and Victoria used to live in New York and that they moved there so that Victoria could study at her current music school, which is quite renowned, but that after she graduates, they will move back to Manhattan. With that said, Sam says that he now considers Danny part of the family and invites him to go to New York with them, and he obviously accepts without even hesitating. After they finish tuning the customers' pianos, Sam splits the payment with Danny, who, not knowing what to do with the money, goes to the market and decides to buy a hat. On his way home, however, Danny bumps into one of his former henchmen who reveals that Bart has managed to survive and wants him to return to the shed. Knowing the hell he will go through again if he accepts, Danny says that it is no longer his home and tries to leave, but the man holds him back, saying that if he doesn't come back of his own free will, Bart will find out where he is currently living and will pay him an unfriendly visit to bring him back. Afraid that Sam and Victoria will end up getting hurt, Danny decides to give in and goes back to the shed where he asks Bart if he knew his mother, but the old man gets angry at these questions about the past and invents that he found him at the dump, while putting his collar back on. Now with Danny over his possession again, Bart can get back into the tournaments, and that is exactly what he does. The old man then takes Danny to the site of the next event, where Wyeth says that this time it will be more complicated, because now the arena is closed and the fighters will be able to use whatever weapons they want. When it comes time to fight, Bart takes Danny's collar off and tells him to finish off the other guy, however he refuses to fight, saying he doesn't want to hurt anyone else. Even though Bart is furious, he controls his anger and says that if Danny fights, he will buy the best piano in town for him with the prize money, but when the man repeats that he doesn't want to hurt people anymore, Bart holds him by the shirt and throws him into the ring. As soon as Danny touches the arena floor, the other fighter immediately goes after him and hits a kick on his back, starting a very aggressive sequence of attacks that leaves Danny completely trapped against the barbed wire fence. Realizing that he will end up losing his life if he does nothing, Danny manages to fend off the blows and avoid being cornered, but he refuses to attack his opponent. When he realizes this, Wyeth asks Bart why his fighter is reacting this way, and the man says it's just to make the fight more exciting. But inside, Bart is totally furious and throws an axe into the arena for Danny to finish the fight. However, he refuses to use the object and it is the enemy who gets the weapon. Now with the axe in hand, the wrestler tries at all costs to hit him, but ends up pinning the weapon to the wall. When he gets free, the man tries one more time to hit him, but Danny grabs onto his back and holds the axe. For fear of the audience getting bored with a monotonous fight, Wyeth orders some of his men to enter the arena and join the fight, meaning Danny will now need to face 4 fighters at once. With this numerical disadvantage, Danny tries to protect himself from the attack of the 4 enemies combined, but even though he is skilled, he does not want to hurt his opponents and therefore ends up taking the worst of it, but knowing that if he does nothing he will soon be eliminated, Danny has no other option but to go on the offensive. Now fighting for real, Danny manages to beat up all 4 enemies at the same time and, to make things more exciting, Wyeth orders his employees to throw various weapons into the arena, making the fight even bloodier. At this point, each of the fighters grabs a different weapon and together they set out to attack Danny, but with a simple sledgehammer he manages to incapacitate all the enemies, leaving them with several broken bones. With the win secured, Bart starts yelling for Danny to eliminate the other fighters. However, he refuses to do so and begins to be booed by the crowd. Wanting to secure his prize, Bart then pulls out his pistol and begins to eliminate the fighters, but ends up being disqualified for doing so. After losing the prize money, a totally enraged Bart starts beating Danny while saying that he will finish him off, but thinking of the money he can still win, the old man orders them to leave the boy locked up in the basement so that he remembers his place as the puppy of the group. While trapped underground, Danny goes back through that old book and discovers that there is a torn picture of his mother inside, meaning it was definitely not found in the dump. Now knowing he has been tricked by Bart, Danny sneaks out of the basement and starts rummaging through the photo drawer where he finds even more pictures of his mother. At home, Victoria is worried that Danny hasn't returned, but Sam comforts her by saying that she knows he will take care of his business and be back soon. Bart arrives at the shed accompanied by a woman, until he notices that there are several pictures scattered on his desk. Confused, he turns on the light to see what this is all about and comes across Danny sitting in his chair saying that he has been lying all this time. When confronted by Danny, Bart says that his mother was his best friend and shows a picture of them together, but says that she worked with libidinous acts and lost her life because of some disease. According to Bart, after she left, he started to feel responsible for Danny and that is why he has been taking care of him to this day. Convinced by what Bart says, Danny agrees to go back to his old life and goes once again to Wyeth's tournament, but while they are in the car, Bart starts talking about the concept of family until Danny takes the wheel and causes the car to turn sharply, hitting other vehicles and flipping over. After the accident, Danny gets out of the car with considerable difficulty, takes off his collar, and runs back to his real family, Sam and Victoria. Once they arrive at the house, Danny tells them about his mother's profession and shows them some of the pictures he got of her, but upon analyzing the picture, Victoria says that she looked more like a teacher, because in the picture she is playing the piano near some uniformed students. Curious, Sam asks Victoria to describe what is in the photo and as soon as she does, he remembers a possible place that could be where the photograph was taken. Together, Sam and Danny go to the school where Victoria studies and the secretary immediately recognizes the person in the photo as a former employee. According to the woman, she was one of the best teachers in the institution at the time, but she suddenly disappeared making everyone believe that she had gone back to China. At this point, she finds the woman's data in the employee folder and hands Danny another picture of his mother. Happy with his discovery, Danny goes home and spends hours looking at the photo the secretary handed him, until Victoria has the idea of playing the music she was playing. To do so, she takes a magnifying glass to see the sheet that was in the photo and identifies those notes as being from Mozart's Sonata No. 7. Victoria then picks up her copy of the sheet and begins to play Allegro con spirito, releasing memories lost in Danny's mind. One day Danny's mother is playing the same song while he is playing at her feet, but suddenly there is a knock at the door and the woman hides her son in the closet and answers it immediately. When she opens the door, a much younger Bart enters the place along with another armed man and tries to take advantage of her, but the woman refuses and hits him over the head with a plant pot. Furious, Bart points his gun and fires a shot right into the girl's head, who instantly loses her life. At that moment, little Danny who was hiding comes out of the closet and advances on them, managing to knock out an adult even though he is only 4 years old, but is soon knocked out by Bart and taken to his shed. In present times, not far from there Bart arrives at the market where his henchman found Danny last time and shows a picture of him asking the owner if she has seen him around, but the woman immediately denies it, forcing Bart to take the information with a little less politeness. With his memories back, Danny and Victoria pack their bags because they know it is only a matter of time before Bart finds them, that Sam, who was working, arrives and cannot understand anything that is happening. At that moment, Danny looks out the window and, realizing that Bart has already arrived, tells Sam and Victoria to stay hidden in the pantry while he faces an entire army of criminals alone. Taking advantage of the fact that none of them know about Sam and Victoria, Danny starts knocking out some of the criminals while luring them all to the terrace, but as soon as he realizes that his men are being defeated, Bart sends the White Hunter after him, a mysterious and scary man. On the terrace, Danny continues to eliminate everyone who gets in his way, but when one of the men pulls out a pistol and starts shooting, he is forced to jump down the chimney, falling straight into an abandoned apartment. And he doesn't even have time to breathe, as the White Hunter appears at his back and tries to hit him with a machete, narrowly missing. Unlike the others, the White Hunter is much more skillful and even manages to kick Danny out the window, forcing him to hold on to a high-tension wire in order not to fall from that immense height, but soon the wire breaks due to the weight and Danny is thrown straight into the bathroom of another apartment, where a woman is taking a shower. In order not to frighten the girl, Danny tries to leave cautiously, but the hunter soon finds him and lands a punch that goes through the door and hits his belly, alerting the woman to the presence of the two. As the girl runs hysterically from the bathroom, the duo fights again and Danny takes a chunk out of the hunter's chest in his bite, but even so they keep fighting and destroy everything they find on the way. But even against a tough opponent, Danny manages to win when he pushes the hunter out the window, who falls right on top of Bart's car. Furious at having lost almost all of his men, Bart grabs a pistol and decides this time to go after Danny personally, shooting the entire building and trying to hit him. Trapped by Bart and the few men left on the terrace, Danny locks himself in an empty apartment and opens a hole in the ceiling lining which he uses to escape, but Bart can hear him crawling and orders his men to stay there while he follows his target straight to Sam and Victoria's apartment. As soon as he arrives at the place, Bart sees Danny's old collar on an armchair and immediately realizes that this is the place where he has stayed for all the time he has been missing. Furious, he starts shooting all over the apartment, forcing Danny out of the ceiling before this old man ends up hitting Sam and Victoria. When he sees Danny, the man begins to say that he has put good people at risk, saying that this is all his fault. As if that wasn't enough, the old man calls Danny a mangy dog, and says that the boy belongs to him, but that instead of eliminating him, he will forgive him one last time. Bart drops his gun on the ground and pulls a collar from his pocket. As soon as he sees the object, Danny begins to approach it slowly until Bart tries to put the collar on him while saying it's time to go home, but Danny puts his hand in front of him and says that he is already home. Bart tries to pull out another pistol that was hidden, but Danny manages to disarm him and begins to take revenge for everything Bart has done to him and his mother. But when they realize that Danny is going to end his life, Sam and Victoria come out of hiding and try to stop him from getting his hands dirty, but since he is overcome by rage, he doesn't listen and throws them both back. Bart then starts offending Danny and his mother until Sam himself runs out of patience with the taunts and smashes a plant pot over his head, causing Bart to pass out and finally be quiet. With everything settled, the day soon arrives for Victoria's final performance, in which she plays the same song that Danny's mother used to play for him, thus achieving her long-dreamed of graduation. So, what did you think of this movie? Let us know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.